In this episode of The Cross-Examination, we're going to ask you the hardest questions about hell. Ready? Allah, despite being the master of the entire universe, why is He making such violent and harsh threats for a person who is not even a speck in the universe? Those who do a great amount of good deeds during their lifetime but do not believe in Allah, will they also go to hell? Why is hell eternal? Based on the brief life in this world, will eternal punishment be a fair price for wrongdoings? Is there really a place called hell? Can you prove it? There is a place called hell, and the proof for it is logical. For instance, say there is a king, and in his land a man comes and starts insulting him and says, "I don't recognize the authority of this king." Now, in his land, even though there is no prison, just for that man, a prison will be built. For example, when an unbeliever says to Allah, "You don't perform these actions, everything is futile, everything is a coincidence." By saying such things, he is rejecting the existence of Allah. After committing such a sin and showing such an insulting attitude, a hell will be made just for that man, and for the oppressors who abuse innocent people. When we look at some previous oppressors, they slaughtered thousands of innocent people, and yet they still died an easy death. To provide justice to the innocent and punishment to the guilty, of course there will be a place called hell. For example, has it ever crossed your mind, why has mankind set up courts almost everywhere on earth? There are thousands of courts. We shout justice, justice, justice. What does justice mean? It means to get someone what he deserves. Saying about the one who gave you this sense of justice, that he will not ensure that they will get what they deserve, is illogical. Why? Because the sense of justice that's in us is a characteristic given to us by Allah in the first place. It is unimaginable to think that the one who gave us this characteristic, sense of justice, would be unfair. Therefore, Allah the Almighty will sentence those who deserve punishment in the court He has established, and those who have a claim, their claims will be heard. We see that a tyrant kills thousands of innocents in this day and age, yet he dies an easy death. Claims of countless innocents, the agony of mothers, who will provide justice to them? The tyrant leaves the world without paying any price for the lives he has taken. Saying about the one who has infinite justice, He will not punish a human being for crimes he has committed, He has not established a court for that, is irrational and inconsistent. So heaven and hell are both present. There, Allah will give everyone what they deserve according to their deeds. Why is hell eternal? Let it be 100,000 years or 100 billion years. For mistakes made in this brief life on planet Earth, would eternal punishment be a just price to pay? Of course, it would be just. The punishment is not for the time duration of the crime. The punishment is given based on the nature of the crime. We can't make that distinction. Today, a man who commits murder can be sentenced to life in prison instantly. What is a life sentence? Never ending. That means this guy is going to be in jail for the rest of his life. There are sentences in the justice systems established by mankind that are 320 to 600 years long. Why is he punished with a sentence like that? Also, the man committed this crime in a limited time, a very short time. Why is he punished for his entire life for a crime committed in a very short time? We don't argue about that. Why? Because the nature of his crime is serious. That is why he is punished like that. In other words, the punishment is not for the duration of the crime, but for the nature of the crime. What kind of crime would deserve an eternal punishment in hell? We can give many examples to explain this. I will use this as an example. If you slap me now, I'll slap you back. We can fight, but it will be over by tomorrow. We will get over it one way or another. We won't be punished for it. However, if you slap a police officer or a police commissioner, you'll get serious punishment. The two slaps mentioned above are not the same. The degree of punishment will increase or decrease depending on who you are insulting. There is somebody who created the universe and has infinite power and greatness. He creates and controls everything by himself. And yet the unbeliever comes out and says he doesn't control anything and does not acknowledge his creator. He says God, doesn't do anything good for me. He says He's not the one who is keeping me alive right now. He commits a monstrous crime by claiming the reason behind his actions is not his own, but others. If you insult or slap just a policeman, you'll face severe consequences, but having an insulting attitude to the Lord of all the policemen, the Lord of the entire universe, surely the consequence must be an eternal punishment in hell. Since you challenge and taunt an eternal entity, you deserve an eternity of punishment. That is because the names and attributes of Allah the Almighty are eternal. When you insult Him, in reality you are insulting an eternal entity. Therefore, the punishment for a crime you commit against an eternal entity will be eternal. It's pretty straightforward. Will people who do many good deeds but don't believe in Allah go to hell? Good and evil are relative concepts. We call a person good. However, is he really a good person? He might be good from our perspective. Is he really a good person in the eyes of Allah? This can be explained with an example. Imagine there is a king. He gives all his fortune to a man and says, "Go to this village and take care of the needs of all the poor people in it." That man goes there with everything the king gave him and does good deeds. These good deeds all belong to the king. Why? Because to acquire those deeds required the king's wealth. Did he have something similar? No. The king could have accomplished those deeds through someone else. If the man who carried out those deeds now said, "The king didn't do any of these good deeds, I did them by myself," surely he must be punished in the eyes of the king. He seems like a good person to the people since he's the one who apparently carried out the good deeds. That is what good is in the eyes of the people. Since he disregarded the king by saying, "All these deeds are done by me," and didn't give the king his due credit, of course, he deserves to be punished in the eyes of the king. Just like this example, one can say, "I am the sole reason for this good deed." When one says, "I did this all by myself," he needs to build his statement on solid ground. For you to perform that good deed, the solar system needs to function correctly. Are you keeping the solar system, in order? No. The world needs oxygen so one can complete one's actions. Are you supplying that oxygen? No. Your organs need to work properly so you can perform that deed at that exact moment. Do you keep them working properly? No. There's someone else who is providing all of these necessities so you can do those good deeds. And yet, if you still say, "I am doing this alone, I'm the sole doer of this good deed," surely you will come across as a good person to the people, but in the eyes of the one who supplies you with all the conditions necessary for you to do those good deeds, you deserve to be punished. People may think of you as a good person, but since you rejected the actual performer by saying, "I did this," you are guilty in the eyes of God. The situation for a Muslim is the opposite. A Muslim does good deeds, but he knows that goodness really comes from Allah. He says that the actual performer, the actual creator of that action is Allah. Because of his thinking and attitude, he will be rewarded by Allah the Almighty. He will be worthy of a reward by Allah. Why? Because he didn't conceal who did the actual work. He didn't cover it up. He didn't deny it. He did it himself. Yet he said, "Allah made me do that," because he is conscious of that. The situation of a Muslim compared to a non-Muslim is quite the opposite. Allah, the master of the entire universe, why is he making such huge and violent threats to a tiny human being who's not even a speck in the universe? If this is some sort of guidance, couldn't he have used a different method? The value of something can't be calculated by how it physically is. We must understand this. Saying man is relatively small compared to the universe does not diminish the value of human beings. As a matter of fact, your eyes are tiny, containing very small amounts of material. However, for you, they're worth more than all the planets, mountains, and oceans. Well, just because something is small doesn't mean it's worthless. The qualities it has determines its real value. If we look at the characteristics of human beings, we see that humans are very sophisticated. For instance, life, understanding, comprehension, knowledge, intelligence. Looking at these characteristics, just as he acts freely in the universe, Allah will surely teach such a noble being what he should or shouldn't do. You say, is hell some sort of education method? Couldn't it have been different? I think it's an outstanding education method. We put up signs on switchboards saying caution, danger of death, right? To show its seriousness, there's even a skull symbol on it. It's a pretty strong deterrent for humans. Do we ask, why are you trying to scare me from electric shock like this for no reason? Do you get it? Is there no other way, a simpler or different method to keep me away from it? No. How can one say this? If it doesn't warn you strongly enough, you may be tempted to take the risk. It scares you so sternly so you don't go anywhere near it. Likewise, Allah also cares about humans a lot. He warns you from getting closer to hell, just like you're warned about the switchboard, to not go near it. This in fact is a great mercy. If a child goes near a heater, the mother will say to him, "Stay away from it or you'll get burnt." If the child gets too close, she may hit him so he may never go near the heater again. We don't say, "Heartless woman, why are you always trying to keep your child away from the heater so violently?" Why is that? The mother behaves this way out of compassion to protect her child from great harm. At the beginning of this episode, we said, no hell, no justice. So if there is hell, where's the mercy? First, if there is no hell, it brings forth the question, where is Allah's mercy? Why? Because the rights of thousands of oppressed are being violated. When someone is wronged, what do we say? Punish this cruel man. He has violated the rights of others. Punish him with what he deserves. If that guy roams free, then we will say, where is the justice? Well, I say, isn't it compassion to provide justice to millions of oppressed people? In fact, justice itself is compassion. If you say, don't punish them, I'll ask, where is your mercy? Millions of innocents have been wronged, and you don't want the person who is responsible to be punished. I'll ask again, where is your mercy? Because of this, Allah is both merciful and just. So what should we do to stay away from hell? Up until now, we have been talking about hell. However, when you use the word hell too many times and talk only about Allah's punishment, believing that Allah is only punishing in hell or burning the ones who deserve that does not reflect the truth, since Allah is also infinitely merciful. And Allah says, "My mercy surpasses my wrath." We've talked a lot about these things. We've talked a lot about the hidden causes of hell, but Allah wants to put us into heaven. Allah is so compassionate. You can look at the examples of how compassionate animals on earth are to their offsprings. You can also look at your mother's compassion for you. Their compassion is not even a single drop compared to the infinite compassion of Allah. Someone says, God only sent you to this world so He can burn you in the hereafter. This is just the devil's game. If that was the case, Allah would have burnt us anyway, right? He could have punished us directly in hell and we could do nothing about it. However, Allah put us in this world and He wants to put us into heaven. Allah shows us His love and affection everywhere. Allah is just and His justice is infinite. Since His justice is infinite, He will take into account all the mistakes to keep us away from making those mistakes. He sent prophets, books, and scholars so that we may find the right path. Do not understand from Allah will burn us that He will punish us continuously. This is not true. Because Allah has revealed an ayah which brings good news for those who repent after committing sins. O my servants who have exceeded the limits against their souls. In other words, my servants who have sinned excessively, do not lose hope in Allah's mercy, for Allah certainly forgives all sins. He forgives all sins. Is it reasonable that Allah would want to burn you? Could He have created you just to burn you? There is hell, and there are many such questions that people ask about it. We shot this video to answer some of those frequently asked questions. Allah is infinitely compassionate and merciful. Allah wants to put us into heaven.